Some are asking, why does the governor why is he launching this initiative in the final months of his tenure?
Yeah, I think it's two things for me. One, because there's been so much pressure on him. We had a press release, African Action Congress. We had a press release and we were very stern with our demands, which is that we couldn't, continue to sit back and watch the loss of human lives, the waste of human lives in Anambra State. We saw too many killings. There's a particular one, may her soul rest in peace, the banker, Ife. I still feel so, I feel so restless in my spirit whenever I remember this lady. Kidnapped, ransom paid 2 times, and she was murdered and thrown like an animal. I don't know her, but I would think she's a woman. How helpless she would have felt before her last moment. Maybe she has kids, maybe even husband. I'm sure she's someone's daughter. So when we had this press release, I'm sure from our side and from every other angle, because there's been kidnapping of clergymen. So there's been a lot of pressure on him. So that could be one. The second is the fact that the elections in Anambra State is coming up very soon. That would be another reason. Because our leaders, the question is, do they really care? Because if they do care, how come we got to this level? How come that we got to the level where people have to pressure you as government to do the needful, to set up, important security apparatus in however way or form to make sure that the lives of your people are safeguarded? So, elections in November, and now we're seeing all this charade. Who knows?
Well, some argue that Soludo has been collecting security votes for years without meaningful results. And critics have suggested that this move is aimed at boosting his re-election chances. Does your party, AAC, share this view?
The greatest security is when you empower people. When the people, especially the youths, have a solid standing when it comes to education, when it comes to skill acquisition. So do we have this? With all the security votes, and how much surveillance do we have in the capital at Onitsha, in some of these very important places where commercial activities, which is the basic source of livelihood of Anambra, how much of this security, gadgets that is required is put in place before now with the security votes that comes to the state? We don't see any. We haven't seen any in the last almost 4 years. How many of our youth in the rural areas have been empowered by this government? How many of them have been able to be pulled out of idleness, addiction, drug abuse? Some of them are languishing at home. So, you see, there's so many reasons why we believe that the security votes and whatever privileges that should come to the people of Anambra is not yielding anything.
Now, why do you think the governor did not prioritize security earlier, despite the persistent violence and crime in Anambra State? And what would your party have done differently?
I think it's misplacement of priority. The truth is, like I always say, the question is, these people we put in power, do they really have the best interest of the people? Do they consider us? Because if they do, they must prioritize youth empowerment, education, as one of the best ways of putting in place security. Some people who don't understand what I'm saying might ask, security is not always when you have checkpoints. And now to come to the issue of checkpoints, we see so many checkpoints in the southeast, especially in Anambra State. From Onitsha to Oka, you count so many. One pole to the other, you see checkpoints. What are the security men doing? Collecting money from commuters. And because Anambra State is a commercialized state, you'd find a lot of, movement vehicular movement and human movement. Like in Onitsha, when you're trying to go across the bridge, I live here, I see this thing. I'm saying to you firsthand, this is what is happening. In the evenings, when the market people are going home, there's an influx of people and vehicles. These security men are taking money. If you doubt it, go on the street just 1 or 2 days. Does it mean the governor does not know about this? And if he doesn't, then is he even the governor in the state? So, these are the issues. If truly the governor was concerned or is concerned about security for the last 3.5 years, he would have made sure that the security people who are active on ground are not corrupt, are not distracted. And then they should have made sure that the youths in Anambra State are empowered and properly educated.
Now, still on this security, Alfred, how concerned are you that this new vigilante force could be infiltrated by criminals, as Soludo himself has previously admitted happened with past security efforts? And what safeguards do you think should be put in place to prevent human rights abuses under this new security operation?
The answer is surveillance and monitoring. I'm concerned because it's actually happening. And I know it'll happen because these people, the people who make up the vigilantes, are still hungry Nigerians or hungry in the Anambra. The hunger is not just for, the people who are being secured. Even some of the people who make up the security outfits are hungry. So when a hungry man is given guns and put in such positions, what do you expect? Most times, if the person is a coward and very corrupt, they would abuse that office. So you'll probably not be able to solve the hunger issue overnight, but you can properly monitor and supervise these people. Because if they carry out this, some of these illegal activities or infringing on human rights, it will turn back and become chaotic, and we'll have more crises, in our hands.
As a party, as your party, the African Action Congress, how would you rate Soludo's overall approach to security in Anambra State since he took office, and as well as the economy of the state?
I think things really deteriorated under his watch, and someone has to be held responsible. And for me, it's no one but the government, because the resources, the government have access to resources. And what should be priority of any government is securing of lives and properties. And if we've seen the number of people dead, kidnapped, the number of chaos and crisis, erupting in the state in the last even in the last few months. I mean, some of these things have just been a case of negligence, total negligence by government. And then I always tie it to economy because there's a slogan that says, an idle man is a devil's workshop. So over time, what have governments really done to improve the lives of Ndi Anambra? In the areas of agriculture, what has government really done? How many of our young people who are idle have government said, come out and let's do maybe a grant, or, how do we get you into the agriculture industry? And then because Anambra State is a state where you have a lot of agricultural activities. You have people who are traditional farmers, whose parents have been farmers, but all they lack is what they require, the equipment. They just need to be equipped. How many times have government been able to go to the grassroots, the way they went to get votes from them, and make sure that at least a good percentage of these rural people are empowered to be self-sufficient? So I tie economy to security. Where you see more insecurity is where you see lack of economic input by government, or progress, production, whatever word you want to use.
So if you had to propose an alternative approach towards governance for Ndi Anambra, what will it be?
An alternative?
Yes, ma'am.
The African Action Congress. We are the only alternative in Nigeria right now. AAC is the only, and I'm not saying this because of any sentiments or whatever, because we are a party that is ideological. We are a party that believes in equality and equity. We are a party that looks out for the protection of the rights of the people. We are the voice of the voiceless. So we are the alternative. It used to be, people just come and people like us just go, to the barricade or to the streets to protest. But now we've realized that we can't keep willing. We have to be on the table where decisions are made. And that is why the party was created. The party itself is a movement. And that's why the likes of us have come to say that we can't continue like this. Enough is enough. We want a revolution in government, a turnaround. We want the tables to turn in the favor of the masses so that the people would have an advantage and there will be a balanced, sharing or distribution of these resources. Yeah.
Some say AAC doesn't have a structure in Anambra State. Some argue that, some critics have argued that how would they vote for a party that doesn't even have structures? What's your response to your critics who say this?
I think these thoughts come from a place of ignorance. As a citizen, when you know your right, when you know the power you yield, you would understand that we are the ones who the power belongs to us. The moment we decide to fall behind someone who would protect our rights, who will protect and speak and fight for us, then there is a structure. All we need to do is fall behind a person like Omoyele Sowore, who has been speaking for over 30 years. And because of his passion for this country, has drawn people like me and numerous of comrades all across the state to come out to be part of this party. And if these comrades will come out, if I would come out from my field to say I'm going to be part of this process, I'm going to stake my life to make sure that my people are well represented, catered for, and protected, then you can do it. It takes you and I to make our country better, not any structure, not any experience. Some of the experience and the structure we're talking about are, layers and layers, years and years of corrupt practices in this country. The same thing that has put us where we are today. And that is what we must dismantle, overhaul, and rebuild.
Is your party feel the candidate for the next gubernatorial elections in Anambra State at this time?
Yes, we're on ground and we're preparing.
And what exactly, in terms of preparation, have you been doing in order to wrestle power from ABGA in the forthcoming elections?
Yeah. For me, I and my ESCOs, we have an initiative. We're doing a sensitization program all across the 21 local governments in Anambra State. And what we're talking about is the very issue that we are dealing with is transactional politics in the grassroots. Because over time, people in the grassroots have been battered and made to believe that they just need crumbs from these politicians, and for them is closure. Once they can get this, to hell, they've gotten, it's like they've gotten whatever they can get. If the person leaves, he leaves. What are you getting? 1,000? 2,000? A bag of rice? They don't even give up to a bag anymore. A cup of rice, groundnut oil. What is that compared to your life, the value you place on the life of your child, your unborn children? So you see, this campaign is so important to our party that people start understanding that they need to pay a price now. And that price is to hold your leaders accountable. When they come to you, because they definitely gonna come. They're gonna come in November. Before November, once the campaign sets off in Anambra State, you see them coming from their high horses, from Abuja. They're coming again. What are they coming for? They want your vote. And then they give you stipend. Why don't you tell them to hold that stipend? Because one thing should come to heart. Whoever is giving you that money needs something from you. Now, what you must ask yourself is, what is the worth of what you're giving to that person? Does it correlate with what you're giving and what they are collecting? And I must say to you, no. The margin is so far, so high above, the other. Please, government has to be interactive. Government has to be engaging. We need our leaders to tell us what they can do for us, and it has to be infrastructural development, building of schools, quality school, quality education, hospital, good health care in our rural areas, empowerment programs. So many of these things must be the conversations that must lead in the coming elections, and that is what we're going around sensitizing the Anambra about.
Your final message that you would like to give to Anambra residents who are hopeful for an alternative that will bring them real change?
My final message is sincerely, African Action Congress, we're here to stay. We have come to stay. And we're here to win. But we can't win without the Anambra. We need your support. This is not a time for tribal conversation or religious conversation. This is a time to have political conversation. And politics is local. And that conversation has to be tied around what and how it will affect you and your unborn child, your community, the safety of your community. And that safety has to start from economic improvements, by being empowered, by being self-sufficient. So please, come out. Yes, they say there's insecurity in Anambra State. Don't let that stop you from coming out and participating actively in political activities, especially the forthcoming Anambra State elections and all of the other by-elections we'll be having.